So in today's web dev tip, we're going to take a look at enums in TypeScript, and you can think of enums as a set of constant values that help to describe your code a bit better, and we'll take a look at a specific scenario now as to when you might want to use an enum. So let's say you're getting some information from the user and you want a response from them. You might store their response into a variable called user response, for example, and that value that they might respond with might be yes. What about if you want to then convert this into a specific value to incorporate into part of your forms or your backend service, for example? Then you'd need to do some kind of if statement saying like, if the user response is equal to yes, or rather uppercase there, then we'd need to make sure that we do something like return the value of 1. So we could use this approach to take the user's response and then using the if statement convert it into a different format. But what we could do is create an enum of different user responses and then assign those a specific numeric value, and then they would be able to be used directly within our code. So I'll show you what that looks like. So to create a new enum in TypeScript, we use the keyword enum, and let's do the same thing that we had before. We had the user response, actually let's call it user response type this time, and they can either say yes or no. So what TypeScript will do is automatically assign us numeric values for these two enums that we've created here, the two properties inside, and it will be a numeric value and it will start at 0, so no will have the value of 0, you can see that in Visual Studio Code it's showing us there, and yes will increment by 1 because it's the next part of the enum, and that will have a value of 1. So now if we wanted to capture that user's response as we did in the first example, we'd create a new variable called user response, which is a user response type, and then we've got the option of having either yes or no here. Let's give it a yes as we had before, and if we just log that out to the console just to see check the value is as it's saying it is in Visual Studio Code. And you can see in the output on the console there that we've got the value of 1 because that's what TypeScript has automatically assigned to our enum values. So I mentioned at the start of the tutorial that enums help to make your code more readable, and hopefully that you can see how that can work here, because obviously we don't need to worry about converting the yes value of the user response type enum into a number. It's automatically done for us, so we're missing out that if statement that we had before. But hopefully you can see it makes the code more readable as well, because just looking at this we can see that the user response that has been given is a user response type of yes. And of course you can compare the enum type as well with an if statement if you need to. So if you said something like, is the user response that we've got here in the constant variable, is that equal to the user response type of yes? Yes, and if so, we can do something down here. Again, making that code more descriptive, and we don't have to compare the user's response directly with a string or a number. We can use this enum type. So it's worth saying as well, you can put your own values in here as well. So first of all, if you wanted to start the incrementing of the different items at a different value, then you could assign a number to the first item in there. So if saying no is now equal to 5, so that means yes should now be equal to 6. And you can see that on the console down here. And you can actually just assign your own values as well. So you could say something like yes is equal to 9 if that means something within your code. So you can also use string literals with enums as well, and we'll take a look at that in tomorrow's web dev tip. But that's it for this tutorial. Make sure you stay tuned for more web dev tips.